Hi, this is Melissa from Loops of Gray, and today we're going to talk about dealing with a dropped stitch when working garter stitch. So let's say you make your garter stitch, but maybe it slips off and it slips off again, and now you're not really sure what to do or what's going on. So the first thing is that this is the stitches that are on your needle here are making the row that you're making. But this stitch here is the stitch from the row below. And so because this is the right side of the work, actually technically this is the wrong side, but it doesn't really matter that much in garter stitch. But because this is the right side that you're working on, but this stitch is dropped from the row below, so we're going to have to turn our work around. So now we are looking at the stitch from the other side. And so here's the stitch that we're looking at, and you can see this strand of yarn. This is the stitch that got dropped. So this stitch already exists, and this we need to use to make the stitch that dropped. So for garter stitch, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we're going to, actually really for picking up any stitch, we're going to pick up our stitch with our right needle, and you see how the stitch, there's kind of the left side of the stitch and the right side of the stitch over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert our right needle straight into that stitch. This may be considered, quote, backwards. Normally you would have the right side of the stitch in the front and the left side of the stitch in the back. But when we're picking up this strand back here, it's easier to have it the other way, where our stitch is supposedly, quote, twisted, but now the left side of the stitch is in the front and the right side is in the back. So then what we're going to do is we're going to put our right needle underneath that strand of yarn, that's kind of like hanging out in the back. And we're knitting that stitch. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take our left needle. So here's that strand that we're lifting up. Here's the stitch that we placed onto our needle. And then we're going to take our left needle and go kind of from behind the stitch almost, behind the left strand through the stitch, and we're going to pull it over that strand that was like just hanging out behind. And now we've pulled it over and we've made the stitch. But you can see, again, we talked about how this is now kind of twisted. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our left needle, place it into the hook or into the stitch like this, and transfer it onto the left needle. So now you can see, so here's how it was when we made the stitch. It's kind of, like I said, the left is in the front, and the left side is in the front, and the right is in the back. So we're going to transfer it from our right needle onto our left needle, into the stitch, kind of this way. So this would be to just transfer it over to the left needle. But this way we're going to transfer it, which then twists it. And now the right leg of the stitch is in front. And then from here, we're going to put our stitch back onto our right needle. Again, just sort of passing it over. We're not changing the orientation of the stitch. We're just moving it over to the right needle. And so now our stitch is ready to go, where it looks like the other stitches that we've made, where they all have their right side in the front. This one has the right side in front, and now this one has the right side in front. So now when we turn our work back the other way, we're ready to go, and the stitch looks just the same as the others. So we can just knit into it just like normal, and the stitch is back in action, and looks just like all the other stitches. Thanks for watching. Bye.